Hello, everybody, and welcome to Delves In. Here with us today is Leda, the cat. She eats all of the mice. I mean, we don't have mice. Pet mice. My name is Delv. This is the Great Catsby. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. So sorry we didn't have one last week. We were doing a lot of traveling. People were doing a lot of traveling, so we were very busy here at the Delves In. I'm wearing an outfit from Goodwill. It's not a joke. Picked this up at a Goodwill. It's too big, but I like red, and the buttons are black, and that looks pretty cool. So today we're going to read a horror story from the Creepcast submissions. This one is called Rotting Through. This is by Peppy with 4 Ys. This came out 9 days ago.
Fresh.
Very fresh. It's kind of a short one, so, this gets us to 20 minutes, then it gets us to 20 minutes. If not, I'm sure Kat will find something else for us to read. Shall we begin?
Begin.
We moved into apartment 304 on Willow Manor 30 years ago after a messy divorce where my ex-husband kicked me and our 6-year-old son out of the house. I had to use up all of my savings so I could pay the deposit to my landlord. He was a man in his 70s. He was an intimidating man who looked tired of life itself and would only speak a few words when necessary. He was kind enough to let us move in Baya, our German Shepherd, even though the apartment was tiny and had barely any room for my son and I. It was either that or throwing her out to the streets and breaking my son's heart. They were best friends. Ever since I gave birth to him, she was always by his side, almost like a second mother. Every time my ex would scream at me and break things in his drunken haze, Baya would sit and guard outside Matt's room. And then I get a fucking party invite from Jonathan that covers up the text. Excuse me. Later, when I would gain enough strength to stand up and go to the bathroom to treat my broken nose, Matt and Baya would follow me and just watch. They were both powerless to do anything to help me. We got out of that house after my ex decided that he no longer wanted to waste his money on raising the child he wanted me to keep. I should have been thankful for getting away, but now it was my duty to be responsible for my small family after years of forced dependency and abuse. I had no clue on where to begin. After moving in the little furniture I had managed to get and settle in, After moving in the little furniture I had managed to get and settling in, it was time to apply for my first ever job. There was a small convenience store below the apartment building, and luckily they could afford to hire another cashier. The pay was hardly enough to pay the rent and the necessities, but we managed to survive. The first months were peaceful, and we were getting used to a quiet home. In the evenings, after walking Matt back home from school, we would sit on the couch and watch TV, and Baya laying by the front door. She seemed wary of the apartment from the beginning, almost like she could sense something that we couldn't, but I appointed that to her adapting to the new place. When nighttime came, Matt and I would sleep together. Something we would never do when living with his father. I wanted to make him feel safe before letting him sleep in his own room. Sometime later, our opposite neighbors moved out, and we were the only apartment left tenanted on the 3rd floor. The layout was strange. There were 4 apartments in total, and we lived between 2 others with one opposite to ours, and the elevator was on the far right of the hallway. It wasn't long until the noises started. I woke up one morning from the sounds of drilling on the wall, and I thought that we had new neighbors, so I decided to go out and greet them. I opened the door, and there was no one. There was no one there, but I could still hear the drilling. I thought the sounds were coming from an apartment above us and didn't pay further attention. From this point on, there would be construction sounds almost every hour of the day to the point of giving me major migraines. Therefore, I contacted the building manager to ask him if he could tell them work during reasonable hours. Nonetheless, he said that there is no construction happening in the building right now, and that I should be patient until it's done. I didn't want to fight with my upstairs neighbor, so I kept my mouth shut. So he says there's no construction happening, but if it is, just be patient? Okay. A few months later, it was November, and Matt's 7th birthday was coming soon. My birthday gift to him was decorating his new room and getting him a small bed with whatever money I managed to save up for my job. He was ecstatic to finally have his own room and not having to share a bed with me, which made me a bit sad, but I understood that he was getting older and he should start being more independent. While I was setting up his desk, I noticed a small hole in the wall that I'd never seen before, but I came to the conclusion that since the house was really old and run down, it was subject to be damaged here and there. The wall where the hole was was a party wall between our apartment and the one next to ours, 303. It piqued my interest to look through it and maybe see through next door, but the hole was tiny and I could only see darkness.
I've never heard it called a party wall before.
Me neither. I also thought that next door was one word, so that tripped me out. I apologize. I can't read.
Apparently you can read better than me.
Yo, shout out to my literal mother. Matt was never the type to wake me up at night crying, but after moving to his room, that's what he was doing every night. He was saying that there was a tall, long, bearded man watching him sleep while standing by the door. My ex-husband had that exact description, so I amounted it to all the trauma he had caused me and my son all those years. Maybe he was afraid that he would return and destroy our lives once again. At least that's what I believed at the time. Between my son waking me up every night and the sounds from upstairs, I could barely get any sleep, and I became an agitated mess. My patience was running low, and I stopped spending time with Matt. All I would do after work was lock myself inside my tiny room and try to relax. As time passed, the hole in the wall was getting bigger. It started leaking and growing mold. I would clean it every morning, but by the next day, the spots would be back, and I barely had any money left to hire someone to fix it. Matt would refuse to sleep by himself, and Baya would never enter the room. She just, bless you, she just whimpered at the door. My once calm and quiet dog started running around the house, constantly barking at every minor sound she heard, and barely ate. She was really old and used to spend most of her time laying on the floor, but during this time, whenever I took her out on a walk, she did everything she could to keep me from bringing her back home. Eventually, they started sleeping with me again, removing any form of privacy I had left in that tiny apartment. Finally, I decided to lock the door to Matt's room and ignore whatever was happening inside until I could get someone to check it out. We were miserable. I dreaded the moment I would have to return home from work and see my son. He would ask me about that figure all the time. I tried to convince him that it was a fiction of his imagination. The word is figment. It should be figment. That it was a figment of his imagination because I didn't want to believe something else was going on. He was too young to understand that we couldn't leave, and I felt horrible that I couldn't do anything. Did you just wipe her drool on me?
No.
Did she just drool on you and you wipe it on me?
No.
What did you wipe on me?
Nothing.
What'd you wipe on me?
Nothing.
Was it hair?
No.
Drool?
No.
Snot?
No.
Spit?
No.
Eye gunk?
No.
Earwax?
No.
Poop.
No.
Well, luckily, I literally have the footage, so chat at exactly 7.5 minutes. There's going to be a zoom on what the fuck you just did.
You'll see that there was nothing.
Come on, son.
Wait for it.
Wait for it. Where the fuck was I? I'm actually lost. Figment of my imagination. Something else was going on. He was too young to understand that we couldn't leave, and I felt horrible that I couldn't do anything. He was scared and paranoid of the house. He reminded me of how he was before we left. All I wanted to do was lay on my bed and not have to deal with any of this, but I had to take care of him, otherwise I would become like my ex, and I hated to do that to Matt. I promised him that our lives would change after moving out, and I would finally make him feel happy and protected. My then current situation would not allow that, though. I had escaped one nightmare and came to find another, perhaps an even worse one. At least previously we had each other to turn to, but now it felt like it was me against Matt. I had become the monster, and trust me, I tried so hard to prevent it, but there was something inside me that had changed. Broken. This is how our days would pass. We almost completely stopped interacting with each other, and it felt like we were strangers living inside the same house. Not a family. Even Baya changed. She didn't want me to pet her anymore, and would turn and walk away from me. I hated myself. Have you seen The Babadook?
Yes.
This feels like The Babadook. Except instead of an abusive ex, her husband died.
Mm-hmm.
But like same situation, like mom sort of like gets possessed by this weird monster, starts treating her kid like shit. They grow further and further apart from each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, the kid's fucking annoying, but
that's your kid.
Yeah.
Kids are annoying.
So I don't know. It just so far nothing really supernatural has gone on besides mention of this hole. So I don't know if that's enough of like a motivating factor to treat your kid like shit.
Right.
Like, your kid's afraid of a hole in the wall. It's like, okay. Like, that's it?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I would get scared at nothing and go wake my dad up and be like, put me back to bed. I mean, years.
Really? That was you as a kid?
I didn't stop until I was like 22.
So surprising.
Yeah, when I was really young, like, I mean, 5, 6, like same age as this. Like, I would usually have a nightmare. I would wake up. I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep. So I'd go wake my dad up, and then I'd make my dad, like, put me back in bed. And he'd do, like, the dad thing of, like, there's nothing in your closet. There's nothing under your bed. Go to sleep. I'd be like, where, dude? Thanks. That's what's up. Appreciate it, dude. Big ups. And then I'd go back to bed. But eventually I figured out, well, I had this really cool neighbor. Did I tell the story of the leprechaun on the podcast?
I don't remember.
Leprechaun hunting?
I want to say you did.
Okay. If you don't know, I'll paraphrase. I had a neighbor growing up. He was an old man, and he tricked me into sitting in his front yard with a stick, a cardboard box, and some string to catch a leprechaun. You would put, like, a shiny penny in there, and the goal was to, like, capture it. Obviously, that never happened. But I remember I told him one day that I was, like, really scared of this. I had a Spider-Man... What? Good God, I'm struggling. I had a Spider-Man head lamp. It was literally a lamp, and it was just Spider-Man's head. And you would turn it on, and it would glow. And I told him, I was like, dude, that thing looks so scary at night. It scares the shit out of me. Like, when I wake up in the middle of the night and I look over and I see it, I can't go back to bed. He's like, dude, you know what you need to do? I was like, what? He's like, when you wake up, go over to the lamp and put him in a headlock. It's just a head. He can't get you. Sure, he looks scary, but dude, you just put him under your arm like this, give him a few thumps on the head, dude. You got that.
Was it glass?
No, it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. Plastic, but it was like the kind of plastic where it was like a bunch of pieces that were like kind of glued together, almost like a mesh.
Okay.
So like when you would turn it on, the light would glow from the cracks
Okay.
in like the plastic, but it was like held together with like a resin. But he was like, dude, just put it in your fucking arm like this and just fucking give him a few thumps and then put him back. He's got no arms. How can he do any damage to you? And I carried that for the rest of my life. Like anything that's scary, I'm like, dude, just put it in my arm and give me a few thumps.
What a wonderful philosophy.
So that's how I overcame my fear as a kid. I was like, dude, I just thump. Sometimes I say really ridiculous shit and she knows I'm lying. Sometimes I say really ridiculous shit and I wonder if you think I'm lying. Because I promise you that story is 100% true. None of that is made up. But it sounds so fucking ridiculous. Doesn't it?
A little.
I promise I am telling the truth. But if somebody told me that story, I'd go, yeah, whatever, dude. You're fucking stupid. Back to the story. The smell. What did I miss? What? We're miserable.
You're on the smell.
Okay. The smell coming from the locked room was unbearable. It smelled of decay and dampness. I hung air fresheners everywhere I could to cover up the smell, but it did little to help. The towel I put below the door was soaked with dirty water, and I was afraid to unlock the room and see its current condition because I knew there was nothing I could do about it. That fucking hurts, Leda. You don't need your claws to sit on me. Damn.
Also, can I just say, when you're a tenant, a lot of these things you don't pay other people for. Your landlord is supposed to provide the maintenance for this kind of stuff.
That's a really good point, especially water damage.
Yeah.
And you know what else? I just want to mention this. Don't most bedrooms lock from the inside?
Yes.
So she like locked the door and then closed it?
I mean, there could be a lock on each side of it.
Okay.
Or maybe there's a key to the front.
Well, I'm sure there's a key to the front, but I just think it's weird to like lock this door. Like your kid already doesn't want to go there. If you're trying to imply that you're locking something inside, the lock's on its side. It can unlock it and open the door.
That's fair.
That's kind of my point. Like, nobody already wants to go into the room. Locking it accomplishes literally nothing.
Do we think that locking could just mean closing?
Well, yeah. Well, you have to close something to lock it. What do you mean?
Like maybe the word locking is just their way of saying that the door is closed instead of it actually physically being locked.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's like an English thing or some shit.
I don't know.
All right, Leda, you're making this difficult.
Leda.
The towel I put below the door was soaked with dirty water, and I was afraid to unlock the room and to see its current condition because I knew there was nothing I could do about it. I felt like there was something inside threatening to come out, and the door served as a false sense of security. It wasn't there to protect us from it, but to keep the illusion of safety. Okay, well, that kind of explains it. The house was slowly rotting, and so were we. It was a prison, but it was either that or living on the streets. I was the one responsible to protect my family, and that had taken a huge toll on me. Sometimes I felt like a helpless child masking as an adult. I had no one to turn to. Just want to say, there are a lot of very nice women's shelters out there that are a lot better than being swallowed by a moldy hole.
Fair.
It's the name of this episode, Moldy Hole. It was about time I did something about our situation, and my only option was to ask my landlord to switch apartments. I did not want to spend another day in that house. By the time he visited, the door to the room was almost completely black from the mold infestation, and I was terrified to open it after so many months. It felt unnatural to enter the room. It was nearly pitch black from the lack of windows, and as the black mold had reached the walls, the smell was so intense you could almost see it in the air. The hole had gotten so large you could pass through it if you crouched. My landlord was furious, thinking we damaged the room, and he absolutely did not believe me when I told him the truth. We approached the hole, trying to avoid stepping on the dark liquid, and the pieces of debris looked through it. Oh, what?
And look through it.
And looked through it, expecting to see through into apartment 303, but all we saw was a broken wall of stacked bricks. The apartment building was initially built in the 1800s and never completely deconstructed, as it was considered in good enough condition to renovate it and let desperate people with little to no money move in. That brick wall had probably been there for decades. We were nearly fully packed up and ready to move out by the next morning when the renovation crew arrived to clean up the mess. The dark bedroom was filled with people and light. I felt like a huge weight was lifted off my chest. The crew had disassembled the bricks to clean the source of the mold, and behind it they found a small pool of liquid with human remains swimming in it. Someone was literally imprisoned behind the brick wall, imprisoned inside the wall, brick by brick, until they suffocated. I was horrified to the thought that we were living with a skeleton for so long, and I left my own son to sleep in the same room with it. I did not want to learn anything more about it. All I wanted to do was leave and never look back. My landlord insisted on us moving into another apartment on another floor for half the price until I found a different place to rent. I decided that we needed a change of scenery. Thus, after looking through many ads, I found a place in a different neighborhood, and we moved out of the building as soon as possible. I was glad to leave, but the lingering fear of what was revealed stayed with me for many years. Sometimes I walk past my old neighborhood and still feel the same dread I did the day I looked at that hole for the first time, even though the building has been taken down. Oh, wow. Living on Willow Manor seemed like a horrible nightmare now, and I'm glad that my son was too young to remember anything from it. I've never been completely honest to anyone about what took place there, perhaps out of embarrassment for my inability to protect my family from that horror. Talking about it makes it real, and I prefer to remember it as something I never truly experienced.
I will say that is one of my biggest things I think about when I move into a new place is what has happened here in the past.
Yeah, is there a skeleton in the drywall?
Yeah, or is there bodies buried under?
Yeah, kid in the concrete.
Has someone died here?
Well, someone dying isn't nearly as bad to me as somebody being murdered.
Sure.
Some old lady just, hit 78, heart gives out, dies peacefully in her bed. I'm like, that's sad, but nice house. But if it's yeah, some dude went psycho, killed his wife and kids and then himself, I'm like, ooh, no thank you.
Yeah.
I think it entirely depends on the context.
Agreed.
But it wasn't bad. Like I said, Babadook, I'm actually very surprised that it wasn't a supernatural ending. I figured for sure it was setting up some sort of like phantom hole, which was my nickname in high school. It wasn't bad. I think, and I really hate to do this, but I almost wish that it had like one of those classic creepypasta like last sentences where like we moved into our new place, but now I'm beginning to notice a hole in my son's new bedroom. Some shit like that. Just kind of like ended on a sort of a twist.
Sure.
As cheesy as it is, I felt like this story kind of needed it because it felt a little cheesy.
I mean, it just feels realistic.
Yeah. It wasn't super scary. Nothing horrible happened. Traumatic, certainly.
Yeah.
And you're right, very realistic. But I don't know. Felt a little derivative. It felt very Babadook to me, but in like a not supernatural way. So I don't know. It was a good story. I think there was a couple spelling errors and words that were missing, so I think you just need to drop it into like Microsoft Word, correct all your little red lines. But other than that, good story, nice and short. Pretty good.
Solid.
Give it a 6.5. What do you give it?
So would I.
Enjoyable read, but you know, nothing to lose sleep over. Leda, what do you give it? All right.
She gives it a 6.7.
No. That's how we're going to end the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Delves In. We hope you appreciated another horror story from the Creepcast submission. I just realized everything we did to Leda I don't think was even in frame.
Sorry, Leda.
But thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. We try to read a horror story and a Reddit story every episode. Tune in next week when we go back to the basement and we read something with Boudrix again.
Yeah, we haven't seen Boudrix in a while.
We have not. I think he's been playing with that bug.
This entire time?
Yeah, the bug that bit you and put you into that weird comatose.
So now he's friends with it.
Well, yeah. Well, I wouldn't say friends. He's been interrogating it. I'm sure they formed a connection, but I wouldn't call them friends.
What kind of connection?
We're going to have to find out, dude. We're going to have to fucking find out. We're going to get down there, dude. It's going to be mayhem. All right. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Why are you never real? Whenever you appear, you leave me with that grace. I am trembling with fear, but I know that you will disappear just as